What's up developers, and welcome back to a new video where we'll be diving into validating data and error messages in Laravel. Quick pause. Do you want to support the channel and want me to continue on creating content? Well, you can support the channel on Patreon right now, where you get benefits such as a private Discord group where you can share your coding issues and other developers who will help you out. If you are interested to join, the link can be found in the description down below. At the moment, we defined our store method right here, where it saves data inside the database. But the most important step is missing right in front of it, which is validating incoming data. You could obviously validate manually by creating tons of for each loops, if statements, and in a lot of cases that should do the work. But Laravel provides the validate method on the request object, which makes validating a lot easier. Validation obviously happens right before we store our post, so somewhere right here. And to make use of our validate method, we got to make use of the request object first and chain the validate method to it. Inside the validate method, we're going to pass in an array, so let's hit enter. But we're going to pass in a key value pair, which looks like the create method we've got down below right here. So let's define the keys first. Let's say we have our title, we have our excerpt, we have our body, the image underscore path, the is underscore published, and we've got our minutes to read. The values of our keys will be the rules that are predefined by Laravel. And let's start off with our title. There are a lot of them, so I'll link it in the description down below and we'll cover some of them for this example. Keep in mind that there are two different syntaxes for applying rules, and I will show you both of them, but we will stick to one. The first method is applying the pipe syntax after every rule. Now let's say for our title that the value is required, and it can't be missing whenever a user wants to submit his form. If we want to add another rule, we simply got to add a pipe. So let's say that our title should be unique as well, because we don't want to post the same title for different posts. This can be done by adding a pipe, followed with the second rule, which should be called unique, colon, followed with a table it should be unique on. In our case, let's say posts. This will check whether the provided title is unique on the table post inside the column title. We could also say that, well, our title can't be a book. So let's add another rule and say that the max amount of characters is 255. I'll show you the second syntax once we get to the image path. For our excerpt, let's just say that it has to be required and the body as well. The second syntax of adding values to our validation is by passing an array rather than a string. So let's remove the string and let's add an array. And right here, we're basically going to define our rules in the same exact way as array values. So let's say that our image is required. We have the memes or the memes, I'm not even sure how to pronounce it, which is basically JPEG, PNG, and JPEG. And let's add the last rule, which will basically be the image dimensions, which can be min width, max width, min height, min length. And what we're going to do is the average, so a max of 5048. I've got a typo right here because it's not the image path, because that's how it's called inside a database. The image is coming from the form, which has a name of image. Now we actually don't need to add validation on our is published because it can be unchecked. So we can remove this entire line. And we're also just checking here whether it's true or not, so it can't be manipulated. Finally, we have our minutes to read, which has a minimum of, let's say, 0 minutes, pipe, and it has a maximum of 60 minutes. Now if all these rules have been passed, a new row will be created. Now what if the data isn't valid? Well, a validation exception will be thrown with instructions on what went wrong. Before we test this out, we got to make sure that we display the error messages somewhere on the blog/create page. So let's open the create page and let's place it right above our form inside the div, where we're going to create a new div with a class of pb8, so padding bottom 8. And it's super easy to access the errors that are being thrown inside Blade. We first get to create an if statement. You can access your errors through the variable errors, which will be available every time you load the view, even if it's empty. Now, we're going to check whether there are any errors. So let's chain the any method to it. If it has, we're going to create a div with a class of bgred500. The text is white, the font is bold, the rounded is only at the top, the padding x-axis is 4 and the py is 2. Inside the div, we're simply going to return a string of something went wrong. Below our div, we're going to create an unordered list where we're going to loop over our list items. Let's first give it a class of border t0, border red 400, rounded b, bg red 100, padding x-axis is 4, padding y is 3, and the text is red 700. Inside our unordered list, we're going to create a for each loop. We're going to loop over errors all as one single error. We need to loop over items and we need to print them out separately by adding a list item where we're going to print out our error. If we save it, navigate back to Google Chrome, click on the new article button, scroll to the bottom, click on submit post, and right here, you will see that this flash message pops up, which is saying that something went wrong and certain fields are required, specifically the title, excerpt, body, image. If we add all of our fields except the image, so let's test that out. Click on submit. You'll see that we're only getting one message saying the image field is required. Let's try it one more time with just random data. I've also selected a file. Click on submit and you'll see that our new post has been added. This was it for this video where we dived into validating user data and displaying error messages in Laravel. In the next video, we will dive into updating data with Eloquent.